Hi, I'm Sara.
And I'm Rena, and welcome to
Biopic, a podcast story. This is a podcast where we dissect the good, bad, ugly, and absurd of this specific genre of motion picture, the biopic. If you want to learn more about us, our scoring system, and how we choose movies, please check out our special introductory episode, Introduction, Who Are We and What Are We Doing?
Sara, what movie are we talking about this week?
This week we will be talking about the execution of Mary Stuart. And Rena, can you give us the trigger warning?
This movie and episode contain depictions of and or references to beheading, the military, unintentional non-traditional casting that is also arguably highly traditional casting, grainy ancient footage, AC/DC current, not the band, pioneering special effects, idea thieves, misogyny, execution, capital punishment, treason, and a severe lack of #girl power unity.
Rena, can you also please give us the spoiler warning?
Spoiler warning. We are going to spoil everything, including possibly the major plot points in works of narrative art having nothing to do with this particular movie. Consider yourself warned.
So some of the sources we used in this episode include podcasts, The Rest is History on Mary Queen of Scots, and John Gee's biography
of Mary Queen of Scots.
Yes.
And this is the oldest movie we've done so far.
Indeed it is.
This goes to, if you listen to our intro episode, I talk about how we have been making biopics in some form for as long as we have been making films. How, as we move into the era of the feature film, that the biopic is not just a genre, but also how film demands to be taken seriously as an art form. And in this case, we're going back to the very dawn of it. So, Sara, can you please tell us a little bit about the 1895 Thomas Edison-produced movie, The Execution of Mary Queen of Scots, or The Execution of Mary Stuart?
So this is known under both titles, and it is the first film known to use special effects, specifically the stop trick. This film was produced, as you mentioned, by Thomas Edison and directed by Alfred Clark, and may have been the first film in history to use trained actors, as well as the first film to use editing for the purposes of special effects. No box office information on this one, but I am sure that whatever money it made for all of the other people involved, Edison took all the credit because he was a stone-cold ideas thief.
He sure was.
I should also mention, too, that this is one of the only horror movies of the 1890s not made by Georges Méliès.
Georges Méliès.
Georges Méliès. I can't pronounce it.
Later the subject of the movie Hugo, which we will get to in around 900 episodes or so when we begin to run out of Scorsese biopics, since, as we know, every 100th episode is a Scorsese.
Georges was played in that film by Sir Ben Kingsley, and that movie also stars one Michael Stuhlbarg. Rena, can you tell us a little bit about Mary Stuart, or Mary Queen of Scots?
I sure can, Sara. So, Mary Queen of Scots was born on December 8th of 1542. Her parents were Mary of Guise and James V of Scotland. Her father dies when she is 6 days old. He's incredibly depressed to find out that she's a girl. And at that point, she becomes the titular Queen of Scotland. Her mother takes care of Scotland for her while she waits to grow up, because in the meantime, Mary is engaged to Francis, the Dauphin of France, who is the son of Henry II of France and Catherine de' Medici, who is the subject of The Serpent Queen on Starz. And on that show, Catherine de' Medici is portrayed by Samantha Morton, who also plays Mary Queen of Scots in the second Elizabeth movie with Cate Blanchett. So many crossovers in prestige acting.
I have a question.
Sure.
We hear a lot about fathers being incredibly disappointed by having daughters. Is this the only time it actually killed?
I mean, he was already sick from other stuff. I don't know that that killed him. The member of the Stuart family who I'd love to get to talk about is her grandfather, James IV. Her claim to the English throne comes through her grandmother on that side, Margaret Tudor, who is married to James IV. And he was sort of a Renaissance man. Among the many hobbies that he cultivated, he liked to practice dentistry as a hobby, where he would pay his subjects so that he could practice dentistry on them.
That's cool and not weird.
Yeah, but he dies at the Battle of Flodden, where the forces are commanded by none other than the younger sister of the subject of last week's movie, Catherine of Aragon.
There's like 10 people in royalty, huh?
Yeah, and they all have the same 5 ancestors tops, and it's all only like a few generations back. So, anyway, at the age of 5, she is sent off to France to marry Francis. He is 4 at the time, and so she just hangs out in France, where she's growing up. And I'd looked up, at one point I asked myself, could Mary, Queen of Scots, even speak Scotch Gaelic? But yes, she could. She spoke a number of languages, and when she grows up, she's beautiful. She's pale. She's 6 feet tall and has like long, thick auburn hair. And when she's officially married to Francis, she shocks everyone by wearing white, which at the time is seen as a mourning color among royalty, but she does it to set off her pale skin. And then, unfortunately, shortly into the marriage, Francis dies. Catherine de' Medici doesn't want Mary around in France anymore, so she decides to go back to rule Scotland, and boy, has it been crazy, because Mary is Catholic, but there's Protestantism building up, and basically, she makes lots of bad decisions. Her husband is, if anything, I would say, he makes Philip from last week's episode look like husband of the year. Lord Darnley, who she marries, is one of the worst, and he's murdered, possibly with some involvement from her second husband, the Earl of Bothwell. Mary has had one son who will become James VI, but troubles ensue. There are rebellions. She winds up taking refuge in England, where her cousin Elizabeth essentially keeps her prisoner, or does basically keep her luxuriously prisoner, for the next 20 years. Mary and Elizabeth never meet, although they exchanged letters, and Mary is eventually found guilty of plotting against Elizabeth and executed, which leads up to this. So Mary's claim to the English throne is through Henry VIII's younger sister, Margaret Tudor, because France is the only one where you have to be able to claim perfect male line descent, which is part of how the Bourbons eventually take over, because the Valois and Capetian lines die out in France, and they have to go back like 16 generations to a younger son of Saint Louis to find someone where they can show perfect male descent, which happens to be Henry IV of France. But that's off topic. But anyway, that does sort of affect Mary. That does come into play for Mary, actually, but not in a big way. It's something Catherine de' Medici realizes, because all of her sons die out. And that's the end of the Valois, but not this episode. Do you have any questions about Mary, Queen of Scots for me?
No, it sounds like she was a little bit of a mess, but kind of cool.
She was very charming personally. She was a great embroiderer.
It's such an interesting idea to have a family member visit and be like, I'm going to take you prisoner while you're here.
Well, again, she and Elizabeth never meet.
Oh, what were those letters about? Were they like, I'm sorry I have to keep you in prison? Or how's that work?
Well, they exchanged letters while Mary was Queen of Scots. Oh, and Mary is trying to get recognized as Elizabeth's heir because, Elizabeth is getting on a bit. If Mary had been able to get herself declared innocent of the murder of Lord Darnley and just let that blow over,
it would have been cool.
But yeah, she bungles it, and the true crime of the murder of Lord Darnley has been argued back and forth for, 4.5 centuries now.
Huh.
Although, if you want to hear stories about Lord Darnley being a fuckboy...
Are there many?
Well, he might have had syphilis. He drank a lot.
His syphilis? I love to talk about STDs on this show. Now, did he give Mary syphilis?
He did give her a baby. He might have gotten her pregnant a second time. We know that her second husband, Bothwell, she miscarried twins while she was on the run.
Okay. As one would be wont to do. you know, you're on the run. That's hard times for expecting.
Yes. Not long, I guess not all that long after they were married, someone said, I know now for certain that this queen repenteth her marriage, that she hateth him and all his kin.
Fair.
He wants to be addressed as king, but I guess it would have solved a lot of problems if people had thought of the title Prince Consort a few centuries earlier. Darnley's drunkenness had become a flashpoint. Sir William Drury, who was Marshal of Berwick and the Earl of Bedford's deputy there, told how when Mary asked her husband to moderate his drinking at a private dinner party in Edinburgh, he had snarled back at her, and she had left the table in tears.
That's no way to treat a queen.
No. Darnley was furiously plotting against his wife. Randolph knew that there were practices in hand contrived between Lennox and Darnley to come to the crown against her will. Her husband may or may not be guilty of helping to murder her secretary. He's not a great guy. Yeah, he is super lame, and he gets unalived. Her second husband may have something to do with it. A house blows up and his body is found in a garden nearby.
Oh, just like in Body Heat.
Sort of, yeah. So, I guess, shall we talk about the movie?
Sure, let's talk about the movie.
I mean, I listened to some podcasts about Thomas Edison being an idea thief.
Yeah.
And him just not really treating Nikola Tesla as well as he should have. So the edition that we watched was from the Library of Congress.
Indeed it was.
And so we see a bunch of people, most of them appearing to be soldiers. The footage is quite grainy because this is the oldest film we've dealt with so far.
Mm-hmm.
They're in 16th century garb, and they're standing...
Are they, though? Can you really...
You can't really see it that well.
Yeah.
You see, like, long skirts and things on... So you don't get that close-up a view of it. So, well, it looks like they're outside. And actually, this happened in the Great Hall at Fotheringay Castle. The Fotheringay Castle was torn down in the 17th century. So it's possible that Edison saw a picture of outdoors when he went to look up Fotheringay, or the director, or whoever he was working with on this. Said, okay, so she was executed outdoors, not realizing there'd been a castle there. But he could have read about it.
Yes.
Either way, not a very good invoking of what it would have actually looked like.
No, I really struggled to get a sense of place.
Agreed. You just see people standing around, and you see a woman walk up to a block. She puts her head down, and it seems like there's a large amount of soldiers, not like a big gathering of people to watch.
Yeah, which we've learned in our time on this show, and you probably always know, that people love to watch an execution.
Oh, I'll be checking this shortly against Mary's actual execution. So she puts her head down on the block, and we see like a man with an axe standing above her. But this made me think of a rhyme that my older sister likes to do, which goes, Mama had a baby and the head popped off.
Yes.
Yeah. So she puts her head down on the block.
What do you think that poem's about?
Someone had a baby with a loosely connected head.
But is that like a Ring Around the Rosie thing where it's like, oh, it's actually about smallpox thing?
I don't know, because smallpox doesn't make your head fall off. It just
No,
makes
I
it
know,
really
but
ugly along with the rest of you.
No, I mean, but just like, do you think it's connected to some like weird disease that we don't?
Are there diseases that
someone
make your
is
head...
actively working to bring back right now in our Department of Health because it's stuffed by fucking monsters?
I don't know. I don't know of any disease. I mean, leprosy makes things fall off of you.
That's true.
But not your head.
We can table this science discussion. Anyway, back to that. Sorry.
Just like the kind of medical situation that would cause a baby's head to fall off right after it being popped out is deeply disturbing.
That sounds like something that would happen to the Habsburgs late on.
Yeah.
You know, one of those babies came out and didn't have the head attached.
Yeah. The head pops off, the headsman waves it around. Or this to what we know about what actually happened. Okay. So Mary is about to be executed, and she was great at live theater. She is like resolutely Catholic on her way to execution, where also she has to strip down to her petticoats for it because you can't have those heavy garments getting in the way of the axe.
Fair.
And she's wearing all red underneath, like the color of blood. Like, she's gonna make some theater out of this. And I get it, they don't have colored cameras in 95.
You know that Edison would have stolen that from someone if they did.
Yeah, I will read to you this to you from John Guy. As Mary knelt, she recited in Latin the psalm, In te Domino confido, in thee, Lord, I have put my trust. Reaching out for the block, she laid down her head, positioning her chin carefully with her hands and holding them there, so that if one of her executioners had not moved them, they would have been cut off. She stretched out her arms and legs and cried, In manos tuas, Domine, commendo spiritum meum. Into your hands, O Lord, I commend my spirit. They couldn't show dialogue.
No, but they also did not. I will say that this film failed to.
It doesn't give us much sense of Mary the person. We
No,
just know
it
her as a
conveyed-
woman whose head is chopped off.
It conveyed none of that.
No. She repeated these words 3 or 4 times until, with one executioner holding down her body, the other severed her head. Except it was the headsman's turn to blunder. It should have taken only a single blow, but the strain was too great even for England's most experienced executioner. His first strike was misaligned, and the blow fell on the knot of the blindfold, missing the neck and hacking into the back of the head. One account says Mary made a very small noise, but another says she cried out in agony, Lord Jesus, receive my soul. A second strike severed the neck, but not completely, and the executioner sliced through the remaining sinews using the axe as a cleaver. At length he raised the head, shouting, God save the Queen. An audible gasp went up from the hall because Mary's lips were still moving as if in prayer, and continued to do so for a quarter of an hour. And then the final twist. As the executioner lifted up the head, Mary's auburn curls and white cap became detached from her skull. The illusion of monarchy dissolved as the executioner found himself clutching a handful of hair, while the head fell back to the floor, rolling like a misshapen football toward the spectators, who saw that it was very gray and near bald. Suddenly everything was clear. The Queen of Scots had worn a wig. The assembly was struck dumb until the Earl of Shrewsbury could stand it no longer and burst into tears. As the executioner retrieved the skull, Dr. Fletcher recovered his wits. He bellowed, So perish all the Queen's enemies, to which the Earl of Kent, standing over the corpse, echoed, Such be the end of all the Queen's and the Gospel's enemies. But it was a gruesome finale, a harrowing catharsis. Even in London theatres, where revenge plays and tragedies were newly in vogue, no one had seen anything quite like this. Mary's distraught servants were led from the scene and locked in their rooms. The executioners were disrobing the corpse when one of them saw that her favorite pet dog, a Skye Terrier, had hidden itself in the folds of her petticoat coat and sneaked onto the stage.
Oh.
When detected, it ran about wailing miserably and lay down in the widening pool of blood between her severed head and shoulders. Since it could not be coaxed away, it was forcibly removed and washed, whereupon it refused to eat. One of Mary's servants claimed it soon died, but this was not corroborated.
That's so awful.
I know, and he missed a cute, sad dog moment. I'm not sure if Thomas Edison or his director knew about any of this.
I would say that didn't seem like they were particularly concerned with the historical accuracy.
No, this is the earliest example of people only caring about a macabre opportunity to show a beheading, not the much more interesting, what I've been complaining about, people since the start of this podcast, people oversimplifying and not choosing to not tell the far more fascinating stories of what really happened.
I mean, Edison doesn't strike me as someone who gives a shit.
No.
Period. Like,
no.
He cares about one thing, which is himself and enriching himself and taking the credit for things. So it doesn't surprise me to hear that he missed all of this sort of like humanizing detail.
But back to the movie.
Yeah.
So the thing is, that is the movie. It's about 11 seconds of footage because this is 1895.
Yeah, I will say like they don't take a lot of chances in terms of the camera angle.
Nope.
Appreciate the trick shot, I guess. Couldn't be troubled to cast a woman.
No.
And also in the grand tradition of, like, they couldn't, I know that, like, blah, 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 like, men played women all the time, but I really think that this was just him being like, you, Johnny, you put on a dress, because I want to shoot someone getting their head cut off.
I agree. He And it makes me so mad when people don't care about history.
And we did nothing to establish anything except, like, enjoying watching a woman get murdered.
Yeah.
I will give it this. I don't feel like we love showing decapitation in film.
No, and you know what? I will also give this film this. It is succinct. It does something we like very much in biopics, which is to hone in on a specific moment within the subject's life and show that fully instead of trying to cram everything into a limited amount of time. And this is an actual moment in the life of Mary Stuart, even if it's her last moments.
I was watching a movie called The Monkey last night. It's a horror movie that came out, I think, last year. It was directed by Oz Perkins, who is Anthony Perkins' son, but is also a really, really talented horror director. And there's a decapitation very early in the movie. It's so shocking to see that happen in a movie. Like, I don't feel like we like to show it. I don't know that we should. It's a pretty gruesome thing, and it's got a lot of, like, terrible, gruesome qualities when it happens. Like, as you mentioned, like, her talking. Possibly,
I don't believe that the lips kept moving for 15 minutes.
But they do say that people, like, you don't die instantly.
Your head has to run out of oxygen.
That's still too long.
Yeah.
That's still, like, way too much time to be aware in any way.
Where's the rest of me?
What other terrible things do I have to point out? I feel like Edison's, like, casually a little bit of a sadist, as we were discussing earlier, with his delight in harming dogs.
Electrocuting stray dogs and cats.
To make a point.
Or filming the electrocution of an elephant.
Topsy.
Yeah.
We'll say autopsy at my autopsy.
The Bob's Burgers episode.
That's the movie.
Thomas Edison, I guess this is his payback for being an idea thief. He's probably rolling in his grave that TikTok stole his idea and serves him right for being an idea thief.
Yeah, sure does.
Dude paid Nikola Tesla $18 a week.
How do you do that?
You're a scumbag and it's the 19th century.
Idea thieves are as old as ideas.
Well said.
You could cite any number of people working in a number of industries right now who decide that it's their responsibility to take credit for other people's work for reasons, or running creative sweatshops in order to steal ideas from people. So it's something that's gone on for forever, but Edison was pretty bad about it, and I feel like we don't talk about that enough.
No.
But
he's the worst.
Yes.
So awards talk. It's 1895. There are no awards choice dialogue. It's 1895. There isn't. I don't even think I saw subtitles.
No, there weren't even subtitles. Like the Library of Congress intro and outro on either side was as long, if not longer, than the movie.
We thought about scoring this thing, but how can we rate quality of the script when there's, like, no script? Like, someone steps to a head. There isn't enough time for me to judge. It's worth watching, though. It'll take 11 seconds out of your life. So for the first time, I'm just going to say, why don't we give this a 5? Why don't we make it 5.5? Because it's not bad. It's certainly not boring. It's not remarkable. And hell, it's 1895.
There's a lot of other wonderful stuff you can watch instead from that era and shortly after, in terms of Georges Méliès.
The Voyage to the Moon.
Yeah, like, that has influenced everything ever. Watch Hugo.
Yes. Yeah, we don't need a second. So, the Bob's Burgers episode on Topsy the Elephant.
It is a delightful episode that features the magical music and rhyming scheme of...
They'll say, autopsy at my autopsy.
They say Thomas Edison is the man to get us into this century, and that man is me. It's so good. There's any number of other things to enjoy out there.
If you want an example of early special effects and want to watch something incredibly weird, there is a movie from about 17 years after this called Mystery of the Leaping Fish, which is also a Sherlock Holmes parody, and it stars Douglas Fairbanks Sr., father of one of the future Mr. Joan Crawfords, member of one of Hollywood's first power couples. So it's a Sherlock Holmes parody where it's based on that in books by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sherlock Holmes is a cokehead. Douglas Fairbanks Sr. plays a character called Coke Any Day, the scientific detective, where he has this clock on the wall that has times on it that read eat, sleep, dope, drinks, and he's constantly injecting himself with cocaine, which he carries around in like a machine gun belt of syringes.
Pre-Hays Code Hollywood was wild.
Yeah. He's constantly shooting himself full of cocaine. The mystery of the leaping fish is that the bad guys are using these inflatable fish to smuggle opium. And the female love interest's name is Little Fish Blower. And there's this one scene where the bad guys are getting away on a speedboat. So the way he catches up to them is he takes one of his cocaine syringes and plunges it into the inflatable fish. And instead of it deflating and causing him to sink into the water, because the syringe is full of cocaine, it makes the inflatable fish speed up so he can catch up to the boat. And this thing is incredibly weird. It's available on YouTube now. I used to make all my friends watch it because I guess I had read about it in a book on drug movies, and it just sounded too weird. And then I saw it, oddly enough, in film class. It was appended at the end of Un Chien Andalou, and I was like, this is the thing I've read about. But it was so weird that someone thought it was pre-surrealist, when actually it's Douglas Fairbanks Sr. making the parody of Sherlock Holmes being a cokehead. And then it does a weirdly postmodern thing where it cuts to the screenwriters' bungalows at the studio, where Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks Sr. are standing with the scriptwriter, and there's a subtitle, "No, Mr. Fairbanks, we think you should stick to acting." And it shows him shrug at the camera, and then it closes out. Like I said in my spoiler warning, we spoil everything.
You just spoil an over 100-year-old movie? How dare you?
Well, as we say in the spoiler warning, like, we may give away the major plot points of films having nothing to do with this particular movie.
I wonder where, going back to our Wonderland conversation about cocaina, where shooting it falls in that hierarchy of effective ways to do cocaine.
He seems to have it already pre-prepared, because it's like this machine gun belt like you see on like gorillas, but where there are normally like the things you feed into the gun, it's all syringes of cocaine.
That does strike me as something that someone who was using cocaine would think was
a fantastic idea.
But even in this day and age, like, I wouldn't want anything that looked like weaponry.
The song "You Talk Too Much" by Run DMC, the chorus is a little repetitive. I was shocked to discover that it is longer, I think, than Like a Rolling Stone. It's like a minute and a half longer than Unchained Melody.
It's certainly almost as long as Bohemian Rhapsody.
But the verses where he's tearing down the person who talks too much, we were like, your mouth was hanging open. Those are some sick burns.
Yeah.
If you want to insult a boring person, like, go listen to Run DMC's You Talk Too Much. It was a great blast from the past. There have been many great actresses have played Mary Queen of Scots since this came out. This is just the first Mary Queen of Scots movie.
Yeah, so, I was about to ask, didn't Margot Robbie and Saoirse Ronan did a Mary Queen of Scots and Queen Elizabeth movie?
Yeah, they did. I had my issues with that one. I had a lot of issues with it, but they were good.
Yeah, they're both always good.
But over the decades, there have been numerous Mary Queen of Scots movies with some amazing actresses in them.
This was not one of those.
Well, no, this was an 11-second exploitation film from 1895. So, Sarah, retractions, apologies, and listener mailbag.
Before we go, we do have some things to apologize for that were said in previous episodes and turned out to be misinformation, and we are sorry for this.
We were wrong. Sometimes we're wrong.
Rena, what were we wrong about?
So, I have something to apologize to you for, Sarah.
Oh.
The problem is that I'm a horrible person, and I might not have a big enough heart to give you and all the people I may have hurt and been insensitive to the full and loving apology you deserve.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to change. And what's worse, I am proud of not changing.
I know. But go on, what is it that you're not proud about changing?
So, Sara, about 2 episodes ago, in our Wonderland episode, I ragged on you for using acrylic yarn.
Yes.
I was economically insensitive towards the millions and millions of Americans who are suffering in these difficult times. I don't want to judge. I don't want to persecute. I don't want to deny the humanity of other people. The problem with me is that I still passionately hate acrylic yarn. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to buy any acrylic yarn or stand near it or look at it or have anything of any kind to do with it because acrylic yarn is an abomination, and the only case where it is acceptable is my Grandpa Jack's Lacoste cardigans from the 70s, which I sometimes wear around the People's Republic of North Brooklyn to be ironic, but I refuse to cause any more acrylic yarn to come into existence. I want to be a good person, but my antipathy towards acrylic yarn fills me with so much joyful rage adrenaline that I am guilty of not wanting to let it go. I want all of you to see what a horrible person I am and to judge me harshly for it, which is what I deserve, because I am wasting everyone's time with what feels like a semi-disingenuous sorry not sorry, because I fucking hate acrylic yarn. I hate unnatural fibers, and I think what this comes from is because when I was a kid, we had a copy of Lisa Birnbaum's The Official Preppy Handbook playing around the house, and I was like 8 when I found it. I didn't know it was supposed to be a parody. I took it seriously, and it left me with a lifelong abhorrence for man-made fibers. I don't know if it's psychosomatic. I imagine that having anything that isn't cotton, silk, or cashmere or linen touch my skin makes me itchier. I don't know if it actually does this, or if it's something Lisa Birnbaum did to me. But this is me passing blame. I don't know what to say, and I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I fucking hate acrylic yarn. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, this doesn't 100% sound like being wrong, but it's okay to not like a thing, is my attitude. I like using acrylic yarn sometimes because I like to make things on the cheapity, and sometimes it's just better in terms of the project that you're making and the wear and tear it might endure. To each their own is my attitude about this.
I don't want it next to my skin. I don't want to say I own anything with it except for, like, my grandpa's cardigan from the 70s. And I asked my mother, I was like, we know that my grandmom had exquisite taste. Like, why was she letting him walk around in acrylic? And she pointed out that they were retired people in the 70s in Philadelphia, and that may have just been with it. And people wore a lot of, like...
People love Lacoste.
Yeah.
I think you have something else to apologize for this week also, after that non-apology.
I'm just, like, awful.
It's more just a declarative I am what I am statement.
I felt like I should apologize for being economically insensitive to people who use acrylic yarn.
There's no shame in it. Sometimes you just want to make something really colorful.
So, I misspoke last week, which may have caused some confusion. Last week, I said that the terrifying Smiley the Clown toy that we discovered haunting my family photo albums from the 50s resembled a rotund bowling ball with John Wayne Gacy eyes painted on it, which made no sense because bowling balls are already naturally rotund. I misspoke. I meant to say that the Smiley the Clown toy was shaped like a rotund bowling pin, not bowling ball, with John Wayne Gacy eyes painted on it. I do know the difference between a bowling ball and a bowling pin, even though my bowling scores are usually in the low double digits because I am hopelessly uncoordinated and never met a sport, even a pseudo-sport, that failed to make me look as though that sport was designed specifically to humiliate me. The only explanation that I have for this was that I was in a heightened emotional state because that Smiley the Clown toy is very upsetting. It
is.
It was horrible to see that someone I love very much grew up with this thing hovering over her, hanging out in her crib. I would say probably terrorizing the other toys, except that all 1950s toys are creepy. But this thing was the worst. So Smiley the Clown caused me to misspeak, but I will take the burden of apology for this particular one of Smiley's crimes on my own shoulders. because Smiley the Clown is an inanimate object in a photo album. Despite my miserable bowling scores, I do know the difference between a bowling ball and a bowling pin, and I am sorry for any confusion that I may have caused when describing the Smiley the Clown toy.
I have a question about this.
Yes.
Did someone yell at you about calling?
No,
that?
I noticed it, and I realized while I was editing, and I realized it threw everything off. And it was an inaccurate, it wasn't describing the thing well.
I will say, cut yourself some slack on that front, because these things happen.
Yeah.
I would like to just say that I was right about something.
Okay.
As we discussed, I hate Kevin Costner.
You do.
And it's always been personal between Mr. Costner and I. But a recent story in The Hollywood Reporter revealed that I am not alone in my feelings about him. So he basically, like, after he had his run of success and then made Waterworld, which was I recall Waterworld doing okay at the box office, but apparently it was a failure. And then he made The Postman, which is a movie that contains one of my favorite lines of dialogue ever, which is, "You're just a drifter, bound a bag of mail." I mean, who amongst us? But anyway, so he got his career back because he got on that show Yellowstone, which, if you ever get a chance to see it, you can tell it's all written by one dude. But anyway, he got into a fight with the lovely Wes Bentley.
Yes, I had such a crush on him right after American Beauty, and I'm so glad that his career has come back.
If I had been allowed to audition for Juilliard, Wes Bentley and I would have been at Juilliard at the same time.
Oh.
And if I had been allowed to audition at Juilliard and had done the speech from
Tennessee
Johnson, there's absolutely no way any of this wouldn't have happened.
Agreed.
But anyway, so he got into a physical altercation with Wes Bentley when Wes Bentley deigned to disagree with Kevin. And after that, his relationship with the show was changed, and he wanted to go make his 18 hours of Western movie about the founding of America called Horizon. He wants to make 4 parts. He is getting Qatari money that isn't being used in America to do whatever the hell.
I mean, I hadn't even heard that Horizon 1 came out or existed. I mean, anything is a better use for Qatari money than letting them buy us our universities. But no, there are lots of worse uses, like funding terrorism.
Yeah, I was going to say that
someone in Qatar is going to try to kill me for this.
All of our Qatari listeners.
We've never been downloaded in Qatar.
We have not. But anyway, so this story came out from The Hollywood Reporter talking about what a monster he has continued to be, despite the fact that he got like a full golden ticket welcome back to Hollywood after he started being on Yellowstone, and everyone forgot about what a monster he was. And also in this article, it is revealed that he was sued by a costumer who he owed multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars to. And you know how I feel about that.
Well, the thing that I noted from this article, one of the many crimes of Kevin Costner, it cites, is not paying the bills on time. And boy, is that is the one that'll get you, even more so than Kevin Costner's whole other men's wives thing.
Yeah. But yeah,
not paying the bills on time thing.
I feel really strongly about actors being treated well, and also actors treating the film set like it is a business, because it is a business. It is a money-making operation. So don't be drunk on set. And then
Kevin Costner, has he been drunk on set?
No, but
you're still complaining about...
I'm still complaining about Peter O'Toole. But also, though...
I mean, you didn't complain about Oliver Reed being... We don't know. Was Oliver Reed drunk on set in The Devils?
He was not, based on the information I found. Oliver Reed, I think, kept it clean at work.
While we're going off topic, because this movie is so short, I did find a very fun story this week about the time that Oliver Reed and O.J. Simpson got drunk together to name another abuser, which you thought was AI because I had lost a morning asking AI to describe what would happen if Peter O'Toole got drunk with Joseph Stalin. Which is a very fun journey to take with ChatGPT. Should I share this story about what happens about the time that Oliver Reed and O.J. Simpson got drunk together?
Yeah.
I mean, are you? I am so happy for you that you got vindication on Kevin Costner sucking.
Well, like,
nothing in this world feels better than vindication.
No, you're correct on that. I know that it's about me and him taking an Academy Award from away from a man with whom I have a decades-long parasocial relationship since I was a child.
You're talking about your Lord and Savior?
Yes, I am.
Who is?
Martin Scorsese.
Yes.
But yes, I do want to talk about Oliver Reed and O.J. Simpson.
So this is from a book called Hellraisers by Robert Sellers. So, since the late 1980s, Oliver Reed had been pretty much unemployable, appearing, for the most part, in appalling TV movies. If you look at Oliver's career as the career of an artist, says Michael Winner, it went on the toilet. It basically vanished. He made one film alongside O.J. Simpson. But the money ran out, and it was shut down. Director John Hugh heard one story that Ollie and Simpson were drinking in a bar and got into an argument over whether American football or English rugby was the tougher game. Suddenly O.J. charged across the room and crashed into Oliver, sending him flying, and said, "That's what it's like in American football." Up came Oliver and charged back and knocked Simpson all across the room and said, "Well, that's what it's like in English rugby." They kept doing it, and quickly it got out of hand. They were like...
Quickly?
They were like two bulls charging against each other. Then this little Welshman, who was sitting drinking his pint of beer in the corner, suddenly stood up and said, "You're spoiling my drink." And with one blow, knocked out O.J. Simpson, and with the other blow, knocked out Oliver Reed. The film's stuntman, who was supposed to be looking after the two stars, jumped in to try and restrain this Welsh guy, and he felt his muscles, and they were like solid steel. He told me, "There you've got a real tough guy." You thought this was AI generated, but it happened.
Well, because you're sending me stories from ChatGPT about Peter O'Toole and Stalin, so it did seem like a natural progression.
I never would have thought of O.J. Simpson, though.
In some way of, like, you being like, what about if this happens?
Well, yeah, but I think an AI, if you asked an AI tool, tell me bizarre drunk pairings that Rena would come up with, it wouldn't be O.J.
That's just because the AI doesn't know you well enough. Yeah, although I suppose, like, if I were to ask AI, it would be like Eric Roberts and O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, and that came about from, I guess, I'd just been thinking about Peter O'Toole, but I was also researching for the Death of Stalin episode that we'll be doing politics on. So this episode has been a lot of filler because we did an 11-second movie from 1895.
Indeed.
So I guess, Sara, can you please take us out?
I'd be happy to. Couple of things. So, as everyone knows, our podcast baby has matured, and we have launched Patreon, an effort to defray some of the costs associated with bringing our show to you, platform hosting, recording, research. We occasionally order a book off the internet. We sometimes have to pay for movie rentals. We also pay to go see each other on the subway sometimes so we can record in person as we are doing this evening.
And I would say, yeah, we did not have to pay for this particular movie because it was free from the Library of Congress.
And on the internet. But with that, for now, although the gifts will get better, I assure you. We are offering shout-outs and access to our awful first 3 episodes to anyone who chips in to support our operations. And with that, we'd like to thank Gates and Brandon for supporting the show already.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Gates.
Yes, thank you. And then also, if you liked our show, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and tell a friend, or better yet, plural friends, and share us on social media. We hear it all helps. You can follow us on Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram, where we have visual aids from our episodes. And our Instagram handle is at Biopic a Podcast Story. Do check us out there, and we'll link to that in our show notes. Please check out our webpage at biopicapodcaststory.podbean.com to see the official episode ratings for all of the movies that we've done so far. And if you would like to get in touch, you can email us at biopiclistenermailbag@gmail.com. Our theme music is by Ben Patch. The intro is his song Slater Cannonball, and the outro is Spring Breakers, and you can check him out on Spotify.
Tune in next week when Brian Estrada, who previously talked about the President's Last Bang with us, will be back to talk about another South Korean movie, which is about another South Korean president. This one is called The Attorney. And it's also going to be an only case of us making an exception, which is names being changed. We do not do based on a true story movies where they change all the names, except in this case we made an exception because apparently the situation around getting sued in South Korea for making a film about a person who is still alive is much more dire than it is here. And we're super excited to have him back on the show.
Indeed, we are.
And he has a book coming out, too, which he'll be talking about with us.
Excellent. Yeah, excited to have him back.
And the book is called Good Old-Fashioned Korean Spirit, which he wrote with his wife, who is a superhero.
Yes, she is.
And he's the man who invented the word normcore.
I mean, can you imagine?
Coming up with something that cool? I don't know if I ever will.
Oh, I definitely won't. Anyway.
Good night to the earnest and the cynical.
Especially the cynical this evening. Good night, Rena.
Good night, Sara.